one day I was walking down the street and I had done a market sketch, pastel over watercolor, and it was almost good. It was pretty awful, but it was almost good. Couldn't afford a frame. Walked into Lisa Harris' gallery. She had just opened a year before. She didn't know what she was looking at, and she said, well, I'll take that. So she called up the next week, do you have more? I said, what? It was $195. Oh, but in the meantime, I was also cleaning people's houses and condos downtown, and then I would leave paintings there with a little price tag, you know, and then they would buy my paintings. And one time I said, I would like $200, so I went into Seattle Best Coffee, and I had done a series of coffee bean pickers and coffee plantation, and left it in his office, and Jim Stewart, and when I went back, there's a check, and I said, well, this is nice, you know, this. So just thinking, who needs a painting? What kind of money do I need? And I did a lot of market sketches. We just lived like 8 or 9 blocks away from Pike Place Market, so I do little pen and ink sketches and then print them and then hand paint each one. Sell them for about $15. So, I mean, $15 in 1978, 79 could buy you groceries. So then I started doing courtroom sketches. I started improving. Lisa Harris is really she's got a great eye. So when I brought in new work, she'd pick 1 or 2 out of a batch. And then maybe the next time she'd pick 3 or 4, you know, and this is starting in 1986. So how I got into her gallery, just walking down the street and walking up the stairs, and she wouldn't do that now, but she was new and I was new. So things progressed, and I did just almost all market paintings of the Pike Place Market. And then one day it's like everybody that ever wanted a market painting had one. I could have stapled money to the frame and not gotten rid of those market paintings. And so there was kind of a dead period of about maybe a year, and Lyle started doing oil bar. I started doing oil bar. And no brushes. We just put gloves on because, you know, you've got cadmium colors and everything. And you draw with the oil bar and start smearing things around and maneuvering things, and it was so fast and so quick drawing and so easy. But when I look at my old work, it was really crude, but it was new. Nobody had seen work like that before, and it just flew off the walls. It was very nice. But when I started doing the oil bar, it was very emotional. A friend of ours had been killed by a drunk driver, so I had one of the first paintings, I had her picture on the wall and then a very sad man sitting there, and and it sold right away. But once the person who bought it heard the story, he brought it back, you know, and so I was told just to keep my stories to myself. But it was very emotional. And the next painting, one of the next paintings was my friend's only son had been shot in the head down at Pioneer. Remember all the Pioneer shootings? And one of them was him. And so I had a picture of the father looking out the door and the son's coming up and the mother sitting at the table, you know, like what we would put my folks through when we didn't come home till too late. But this time he wasn't coming home. So there was a theme to every painting, and I could relate it to things happening in my life and other people's lives that I knew about. So it was so emotional that there were psychiatrists and therapists were buying my paintings because there was a mood to them, and it was real. It wasn't just painting an object or painting a happy market scene. It was like, you know, very emotional to me, and it meant a lot to me.
Do you work from your imagination, or do you use photo references?
Well, this is my secret, but I tell everybody, so I guess if you put this on YouTube, everybody will know. I look through a lot of videos. I tape a lot of things off TV, and then just put the video in and fast forward it, and just, you know, and if I see a scenario that has good composition or overhead view of something, it doesn't matter what it is of. If it's just really an interesting camera angle, I can make people fit into the camera angle. This painting right here was a movie called Room 406. Samuel Jackson was in it. It was a creepy movie about a very evil room in a fancy hotel. And so the camera, this is Samuel Jackson walking in a black suit. You know, that's what I saw, but I didn't want to paint that. So I painted a woman and put the dog in. And in the scene, there were people with dogs off to the corner. So I took one of the dogs. But I really enjoyed the pattern of the rug that was in the scene, and of course the camera angle was overhead, so I could see, I can change a man into a woman. Right. I just need to know what the tip of the head looks like and how far the shoulders come up here, and everything looks a little bit 1940. I like the style, you know, you've got the print and the clothing and the little gloves, and I don't know why. I think it's just because the white of the glove looks good with the white of the collar, not so much that I'm thinking that it's a 1940 thing. I'm just thinking more of design, how to carry your eye through the paintings.
Can I ask you next, maybe, for any advice you have for Cornish students who are graduating, starting out in the world, trying to find representation, that sort of thing? Do you have any advice for them about how to make a successful career, as you have?
Yeah, that's a tough one because thing is, I tell everybody, give yourself 30 years because that's what it took, 30 years. I don't think I started selling anything, well, until I was almost 40, and I'd worked a long time at it. Well, I started when I was 15, so 15 to 40. It's what, 25 years, right? 25 years. Give yourself 25 years. But that's me. I'm a slow learner. And but also I think going to commercial art school helped me think commercially. What do people want? Keep true to my own style, but like going into a coffee place and saying, you know, and I had a fun little watercolor. It had 3 scenes, so you know you get a lot of painting for your buck here, and so I kept the price low. We went to Bellevue Fair. I was in that for 10 years, and we built up a clientele of like about 1,000 addresses. And then every year we'd have a studio sale. I'm just saying, think of how to get your artwork out there. Bellevue Fair was great. We had to build, what do you call the little sets? You know, things to hang the paintings on and whatever. Booths, yeah, booths, and we just kept putting our artwork out there. It's tough. It's a tough business because galleries are folding. The economy is going downhill. I tell people, make it really affordable. I mean, the most rewarding thing is getting a painting that you really like. The second rewarding thing is getting somebody to pay for it. So, you know, it's not all about money. It's about doing something that's better than the last painting. Your next painting should always be better. Do not settle for it's good enough. And when I teach workshops, you know, I say to people, you know, don't quit until it's as perfect as you can make it. Put it aside for a month, come back. But that's kind of off the path. Think about different avenues besides galleries. Right. And of course there's always, people have taught workshops to handicapped children. You know, they've done a lot of, people have gotten themselves out and known and have met people that have galleries through altruistic means and volunteerism. And one of the women, and Lisa Harris has a great little spiel about how to get in the galleries, and I took all of her notes. It's just wonderful. And one of it is just be out there all the time. Come into the galleries with your work all the time. Be aware that galleries are very, very busy, but become friends with the gallery owner. Buy a piece or two, and then you'll really become friends. And always be willing to show your work and ask the gallery owner how do they go about it. Lisa only takes like 2 times a year. She'll look at people's work, and it has to be like on little CDs or something. Yeah. So things have really changed over the years. I walked in cold. I don't know if you can do that with other galleries. But if your work is good, nobody's going to turn you down.
Right.